I think it's important to apologize to people when you're ignorant and then years later you learn the facts. So I want to apologize to Dennis Rodman right now. And I also want to walk people through why I'm apologizing, so hopefully that can wake up a lot of other people out there that have been threatening Dennis Rodman and doing things to him that are wrong. Now, I know some folks in Hollywood and stuff that have known Dennis really well. They told me he's a really nice guy. And I've met Carmen Electra and her new boyfriend years ago, and of course she'd been married to him, and they talked about him being really a nice, emotional guy that actually cares. That said, though, what was it, 5, 6 years ago? Dennis Rodman first went to North Korea. He went all over the world with private basketball exhibitions, Japan, you name it. Basketball's huge in Asia, as you know. So he'd go over there after his NBA career to make sometimes $100,000 per trip. And so he got invited to North Korea. And the way the media portrayed it, even though I know mainstream media lies, 5, 6 years ago when this first happened, we knew it lied, but not as much as we know today. So I kind of bought the CNN, MSNBC, Fox News line that he knows Kim Jong-un's a criminal, he knows he's a despot, he's going over there to prop up the regime. The way they phrased it was like he went to visit him, he's friends with him. But now I've really studied North Korea a lot more, not just the military history of it, not just what happened in 49 through 53 and the war or the armistice in the 60-plus years since, but what's happened with Kim Jong-un, the Clintons, Obama, the globalists, the Bushes, China using it as basically slave labor and raw material, trying to keep North Korea down. It's wild. So I really started to study what Dennis Rodman had done about a year ago when I really did a deep dive on North Korea and what's currently happening. Then I talked to people in the military, people in intelligence. They said, listen, Rodman, when he first went over there, went to Obama. We've talked about this on air. And I just learned this last year, though, because Kim Jong-un came to him and said, I've gone to everybody. I want to normalize with South Korea. I want to normalize with the West. I want to give my weapons up. I don't want to do all this. And I'm not saying Kim Jong-un's a good guy. He's a third-generation dictator. I'll get to my apology in a moment. I don't want to preface the history of it. And so Rodman, I'll play a clip in a minute. Rodman didn't even really know what was going on in Korea. He came back, he got death threats, had to hide out for a month. Everybody was attacking him because the way the media proposed it and the way they showed it and the way they basically framed it was he knew what was going on completely and went over there just to make money off this guy and, all the rest of it. Now, fast forward, some U.S. intelligence went to Rodman and said, hey, we appreciate what you did. We want you to talk to Obama. Obama wouldn't talk to him. That's because the globalists want to keep that place under control as a political detonator. The globalists put Mao Zedong into power. They're propping up the current dictator, and they want to keep North Korea as a crisis creator in the region, a strategy of tension. Well, the strategic patience is over, and I told you about a year ago that Trump was going to put pressure on him, then get him to come to the table and hopefully denuclearize it in turn for the U.S. coming in and denuclearizing. And the U.S. coming in and giving them high technology, power plants, tourism, everything, and cutting China out of the loop. It's the land between South Korea and China, two of the most prosperous countries in the world. South Korea has 1.4 trillion. Think about that. That's 113 times bigger than North Korea, even though it's similar geography and the same people. It's incredible what free market could do for them. It's a perfect example of free market South Korea versus totalitarian North Korea. So Trump's coming in to trump all that and really try to fix it. He had to put pressure on first, though, to get North Korea to come to the table and know that there was a new boss and things were more complex. Now, that moves us on to Dennis Rodman. Let's go inside and I'll play this clip. And again, I had it pulled up on here. Let's just go back to it. There we go. It's perfectly queued up. All right, hit pause. We'll go to it in a minute. The reason I'm getting into all this is I just bought mainstream media saying that Dennis Rodman loved the dictator and loved what was going on. Now I've had a chance to go back and research what actually happened at the time, 5.5, 6 years ago. And I've had the time to go research what Rodman tried to do since then. And Rodman was just one of many people Kim Jong-un talked to and said, I want to come in out of the cold. I don't want to be a communist anymore. I want to try to stop what we're doing. But we can't get out of this communist system. And again, I'm not lionizing Kim Jong-un, obviously a third-generation dictator. The point is that you're never going to free those people if you don't start giving them free market. And you're not going to just topple the regime. They'll attack Seoul and Japan and everything else. You need to, like we did with Eastern Germany, come in and give them a free market system. That's the answer. So Trump is shaking all that up and changing it, and Obama never did and blocked it because there's an admitted globalist strategy to keep those nations basically under their control and very poor. So Rodman is really a hero, but bigger than that, he was used by God. And when I say that, the Lord works in mysterious ways. He says in this interview I'm about to play, and I've looked it up, it's true, in my research of it, he didn't even know where he was. He would go to South Korea, he'd go to Russia, he'd go to Japan, he'd go all over. And he would just go do exhibition games like the Globetrotters do here in the U.S. And so he didn't know. He comes back and gets demonized, and all he's saying is, hey, let's just give peace a chance, which is a good thing. And so he has a lot of courage, and God used him for this, and good things are happening, and this is the best shot the North Koreans have of getting out from under total communism. I'm disgusted by the North Koreans by communist, period, but our media worships communists when they're in China and commit even bigger atrocities in North Korea, times probably 15 times if you study it. We're talking 100 million people the communist Chinese have killed, maybe 3-4 million starved to death by the North, maybe 1 million killed, and that's terrible. God, that's horrible. I'm not lessening any of that. My point is the media is very selective about this, about what they get into. So they want to keep this place under control. And he was on with Como, the guy that says you can't read WikiLeaks, only he can. And he's sitting there, and Rodman breaks down and starts crying. So I want to apologize to Dennis Rodman for going off half-cocked. I used to do that a lot more. I still do it sometimes. And when I'm wrong, I apologize, because I want to recognize that you're a good guy and you had a lot of courage and you've done a lot of good. And it just shows after all you've gone through all these years later that the fact that you were the one guy that would actually try to reach out and do something, even though Obama wouldn't listen, Donald Trump has. Because Donald Trump wants global victory, as he said, not a dysfunctional New World Order system. So, if you will, Zimmerman, please turn the audio up here. We're going to go ahead and play this from in the interview. This interview's already gone viral, but just listen to this, because this is the truth.
Make this happen. If Trump could pull this off, more power to him.
Dennis, did Kim reach out to you, or any of his people reach out to you? The president's people, anybody reach out to you for insight into the other side?
Well, you know what? I've talked to those guys the last 5 years.
Which guys?
And I talked to Kim Jong-un and an administration over there 5 years ago. And he asked me 5 years ago, we sat down for lunch. And he sat down and asked me, hey, Dennis, I would like to ask you 3 things. If you go back to tell the President of the United States these 3 things, and I would be willing to talk to him. And it's a true story, and I got my people here that was there that heard the conversation. He said things like, if they can move the ships back from South Korea, I would do what I have to do to listen. If you can move certain things or to do certain things, I will listen. My ears will be open. And I tried to do that to Obama. And Obama didn't even give me the time of day. I asked him, I said, I have something to say from North Korea. He just brushed me off. But that didn't deter me. I still kept going back. I kept going back. I kept going back. I showed my loyalty and my trustworthy to this country. And I said to everybody, I said, the door will open.
I remember you saying it. I remember you saying it. Let me ask you something. Does Kim understand English, Dennis?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. When I said those things, when I said those damn things, when I went back home, I got so many death threats. I got so many death threats when I was sitting there protecting everything. And I believed in North Korea. And when I went home, I couldn't even go home. I couldn't even go home. I had to hide out for 30 days. I couldn't even go home. But I kept my head up high, brother. I knew things were going to change. I knew it. I was the only one. I never had no one to hear me. I didn't know one had to see me. But I took those bullets. I took all that. I took everything. Everyone came at me, and I'm still standing. And today is a great day for everybody. Singapore, Tokyo, China, everything. It's a great day.
It is a great day. This is a historic day.
I'm so happy.
You were saying to me years ago that you thought this would happen. And I want to let you be ready for me to ask you another question. I know you're very emotional.
All right, back here he gets into how he didn't know what was going on in North Korea. He didn't know what it was when he first went there.
How do you think the two men size up in terms of how they might get along?
Well, I think the fact that Donald Trump would understand the fact that North Korean, the people...
And again, to be clear, this was right before the meeting happened. It all went really well. The agreement got made as we knew it would have, because as I told you, on March 7th, the agreement was already made. And now he just confirmed it all. They had to blow up the nuclear site first where Trump would even show up. We broke all that.
What's my hat say?
Oh, good. Now I can see it.
Let's
so you
make
have
America great again.
All right.
You got it right there? You got it?
I got it. Thank you. So you made your way to Singapore. How?
All right, just like Rodman knows he'll get attacked for doing that, he had the courage to do what he did. I mean, the guy's a real trailblazer. In the beginning, a patriot's a scarce man, hated, feared, and scorned. But in time when his cause succeeds, the lieutenant joined it, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And I got to say it, I really admire this, and I got sucked into it. Just like, I'll play another clip in a minute. Just like on 8/88, that's when the Olympics started in 2008. I used to get up about 6 in the morning, and it was like 5:30. And my home phone's going ring, 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 ring. Another big national talk show host was calling me, never calls me. And he said, Alex, Russia has attacked Georgia, not Georgia in the deep south, north of Florida, Georgia in Eastern Europe. And what do you think's going on? People always call me like I've got all the answers. I got to figure stuff out, just like I admit when I was wrong here. People use that as weakness. No, when I'm wrong, I'll tell you. But I'm like, whoa, it's 5:30 in the morning. What's going on? Well, CNN's reporting. And even back on 8/88, I knew CNN lied, but not like this. Just the lies are so bold. So I get up and I go in, and I'm sitting there drinking coffee, and I got TV on at like 5:45, and they're announcing that Putin has attacked Georgia and that troops have poured in all this. I get online, all the U.S. news says it. You think I'm savvy, that was 10 years ago. I'm a lot more savvy now. I'd be checking Japanese news, Russian news, Arabic news, Italian news, Brazilian news. I've learned don't check U.S. news, especially if it's mainline. And I did my research, got the kids off to school, did everything, got into work, 9:30. And as I'm driving in, I'm getting calls from people I know, and they're going, Alex, this is bull. There's South Ossetia and Abkhazia on the border that are Russian-held areas, but they're UN disputed zones. They got attacked in the early morning hours. That'd be like 12 hours before, because it's like 10 hours ahead here, or 10 hours ahead there. And I'm like, really? So by the time I get there, I'm going and looking at foreign news, and I'm checking stuff, and then I see RT online saying, because RT had been launched by then, that they'd been attacked at their bases and everything, and that they'd fought back and come in to push it back, and they weren't going to take Georgia. And I go, well, I don't believe that damn Putin. I made films about where Putin's a bad guy like 15 years ago, and a lot of it's mistaken stuff. But anyways, I'm not saying he's perfect, but some of the stuff was not completely accurate. And I was buying Global's propaganda, that he blew up his own buildings and all this stuff, and that he launched the Chechen attacks on himself. No, we now know it's declassified. It was the West did that. So I'm sitting there, and then I go in there, and I go, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But then by an hour into the show, it was like on CNN, how dare Putin say that they were attacked while they invaded. And then by the nighttime, it was on the news that, okay, well, they did attack these UN-held areas and these Russian bases on the border, and the Russians have pushed them back and turned around and gone back in. And then I turned on CNN the next day, and they go, Alex Jones is a Russian agent. He went on air and said that we attacked Russia. And I was like, man, this is some weird crap. I didn't realize I was directly up against the big foundations and the CIA and the rest of them. So what am I getting at with this whole Dennis Rodman thing? It's that 10 years after that, I know not to believe jack squat I see from CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post, because, man, they will whole cloth lie. They're like, Dennis Rodman knows he's a dictator and hurts people, and he loves the regime and went there because he's a fan of Kim Jong-un. And I'm like, that son of a bitch. God, I hate that piece of crap. And then I got a few calls, people going, Dennis is actually a really sweet guy. He's probably misled, but you ought to get off his ass. Well, now I know that He is a nice guy. He just went over there. He didn't even know what North Korea was. He talks about on that. He just shows up in another place to play basketball, gets some money, and then that happens. But the point is that I get why the public still buys some mainstream media, because even I, 10 years ago, knew CNN were liars. They lied about me many times, but I didn't imagine they'd say that Russia had attacked Georgia when Georgia attacked Russia with NATO, trying to start a new Kosovo war style deal. I mean, that's hardcore. So I wanted to apologize to Dennis Rodman for believing mainstream media 5.5 years ago. But I'm telling the truth about this because other people can learn from it. That even Alex Jones gets conned by mainstream media. And, and the same thing goes for things like Sandy Hook. Babies getting thrown in incubators to get us in the Iraq war. Didn't happen. Over 1 million died. All the other stuff our government staged. It's okay to question any public event. But once they humanized it and showed the families and stuff, I said, I can't go with this not really happening. The media took that as weakness. And to this day, after 3 years of me saying I think Sandy Hook happened, they say, Jones says nobody died and he won't quit saying it. And he sends people to people's houses. None of that's true. And they say I have associates, never heard the names of some of these people. And it's all just lies. And then leftists walk over and go, why don't you stop saying no kids died, you son of a bitch? And I go, hey, actually, they go, this happened today. Zimmerman was there. Yeah. I don't want to hear from you. Now get away from me and stop harassing me. Came over to me at my table. That's the leftist thing. You can't sleep at night, you piece of crap, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, whoa. You want to actually hear what I say? Whoa, get away from me. Security. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's all fraud, folks, with them. It's also they can be moral, and they can be superior, and they can be the good guys. When the rest of us are just trying to work things out and figure out what's going on. But the good news is the economy's coming back. The spirit of free speech is coming back. We're having real peace deals because Trump's actually trying to fix stuff. And there's a big Detroit Free Press article where they're panicking that the black Americans are turning to Trump in overwhelming numbers now, and because he's actually delivering. And the left is so pissed because the Democratic Party is the party of the KKK. They figured out how to get blacks on the plantation. LBJ wrote letters about it. He goes, well, the blacks are too uppity. They got too much money. They've made their own communities with us suppressing them. We'll make them think we're taking control of them in a good way. We'll put them in these neighborhoods with no men in the house, and we'll set up all these systems and put them in prison. They'll be our slaves again. These are public letters. Just type in LBJ racist letters. And I'm like reading this stuff 20 years ago in mainline reports, and it's true. I mean, that's what they've done, man. These are evil frickin' people. LBJ was a grand dragon, folks. I mean, it's just unbelievable how they've turned everything upside down, everything backwards. And it's how they got us all fighting with each other. It's sick. Okay, I'm going to do one more live report here. But like I said, Dennis Rodman got on the fact that he went through hell for just saying, hey, the North Koreans aren't going to get any better until we give them a real economic deal. But the Chinese don't want to do that. The South's been wanting that. The U.S. hadn't wanted that. But it's the U.S. globalists that actually helped put Mao into power and China. So basically North Korea has been ganged up on, leaving a horrible dictatorship in place. And if the dictatorship can turn loose and let prosperity and free market come in and get out of the way, that's the best move these people got versus having a huge war. So I'm very, very proud about what happened. They said Trump would never get this deal done. They said him putting pressure on Kim Jong-un was horrible, that it was terrible just a few months ago. Now him being nice to him is terrible. That's the art of the deal. We're trying to save those people. And I got to tell you, Trump's just an angel. All right, I'm not used to PCs. Zimmerman, minimize this. I want to pull up some of those tabs I had. I was a PC guy until about 15 years ago. I guess it's longer than that. It's like 18 years ago. So I went from PC to Mac and started. Okay, let me click this on here. Yeah, look at this. This is them last year.
Which one?
American media are getting people at home ready for war in North Korea. So Gizmodo tells you, this Univision, that Trump's going to kill everybody. All the times President Trump has insulted North Korea, CNN. They say how horrible he is and how it won't work and how it'll cause nuclear war and how we're all going to die. Look it up. Trump taunts North Korea with nuclear button. It's much bigger, more powerful. Obama said, there's no way you can fix it. Blah, blah, blah. Michael Moore said the same crap. They've all been proven absolutely wrong. So, good job, Dennis Rodman, who admits he didn't know what was happening when he got over there. They just said, hey, we want to have peace. We want to work with the West. We want to become capitalist. We want to end this system. We want to give up our weapons, but nobody will talk to us. That's the same thing Trump said. No one would ever even talk to the Chinese about these unfair tariffs. The globalists just set it up to deindustrialize America and move our jobs over there because they own it. The big banks moved over to China. Apple's officially moved there. Same thing, North Korea says, no one will talk to us. We want to stop this. We know we can't even make cars or have electricity. We know we're a joke. Kim Jong-un was like, yeah, I want your Cadillac. Yes, I want everybody to be rich here. The Koreans, again, I wrote the notes this morning, 1.4 billion in South Korea, 12 billion in North Korea is their GDP.
1.4 trillion, yeah, South Korea.
Yeah, South Korea is 1.4 trillion.
12 billion in North Korea.
12
so
billion.
113 times wealthier in South Korea.
113 times. I mean, this is the reality. So, again, but I just bought into North Korea is bad and believe what CNN said about Dennis Rodman. It just shows how damn deceptive these people are, how they prey on you. But despite that, there's Cuomo having to sit there with Rodman, who he's tried to demonize and all this stuff, with the truth coming out. So the mainstream media is dying. The truth is coming out. And humanity's rising. And that's why InfoWars is under attack, because we'll just tell the truth. It's not left or right. It's about information. I know it's the middle of the night over there, like midnight in the U.S. I'm out here in the Pacific. I'm coming back as we speak today. So that's it for this transmission. One more transmission coming up on a really, really important topic that I'm going to tell you about here in just a second. So another live feed coming up, but this is my apology to Dennis Rodman. But I didn't want to just say, hey, you were right about North Korea, and then not give the backstory of how it happened. But this poor guy didn't know what he was walking into, exhibition basketball, and they say, hey, take a message to the president, and then Obama didn't want to hear it. And then now to go through all this hell, but to be proven right on the other end, that is biblical. It's like Job. And so I've been through similar things myself, and I've experienced it, trying to do the right thing. And then people lie about you, they misrepresent what you said. Just like Trump's coming through, proving everybody, wrong that attacked him. I'm really proud that I supported Trump early on. I'm really proud that we predicted he'd win. I'm really proud that we've taken action. I'm proud of you, the viewers and listeners, despite all the demonization, all the censorship, all the bullying you face when you share Infowars.com and Newswars.com in our videos. Despite all the censorship, Google and others are failing in their censorship of us. You notice just 2 weeks ago that they listed all Republicans as Nazis in California. They're going to get broken up, or they're going to take us over. They're not going to give us quarter. And they're not liberals. They're hardcore fascists that use racial division for control. Nasty, 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 nasty people, folks. Nasty, nasty, cold-blooded assholes. And we're coming together. All right, that's it for this live transmission. And so, Dennis Rodman, you're a trailblazer. And this is a way bigger accomplishment you've engaged in here as a true diplomat, when other diplomats were controlled, than any of your basketball or any of your movies. Dennis Rodman, you have really done something good for history, and we're marching forward. God bless you.